about the different groups of people that there were at the wedding, or any wedding by and large, really. Now, if you look at the photos, you may spot some people you know in disguise. So, at the wedding, obviously, we're going to have a bride and a groom. We hope. So there we have a bride and a groom. And we have the close family. Oh, Mummy and Daddy, yes. Okay, we have the close family, highly involved. We have some type of an MC, somebody that's filling it all together. We have the people that are more distant relations and friends and that kind of people, that people have come from far and near, gathered together. We have servants, we have people that are going to facilitate this. We're going to have musicians, probably. We're going to have some sort of dancing, some entertainment. We're going to have some noisy people doing the dancing. Matthew, I see you. And then we're going to have some quieter people, just, having a chat, catching up. So when we think about the wedding in Cana, probably there's, similar groups of people there, weren't there? Who benefited from the wine? Not just the bride and groom, although it meant that once there was sufficient wine, they could relax and enjoy the day. The father of the bride was spared the embarrassment of the wine running out. The MC didn't have to make up some highfalutin story about why there was no wine. The guests weren't thirsty. No musicians or singers or dancers had dry mouths. And none of the servants had to run about looking for a late night off licence. So Jesus broke in. There was Mum giving him a nudge. Go on, get on with it. And he did. And he broke in and he really transformed that situation. Now, I haven't seen Eddie and Hannah this morning, but I would like to, just point out that you can't guarantee when you're planning a wedding that Jesus is going to turn the water into wine. Okay, so if you see them, just make sure they have ordered the wine for their wedding. But I do believe that God breaks into our lives and changes people's lives through his Holy Spirit and using the talents that he has given his people. Wonder what would have happened if the servants had said, "No, I'm not going to fill those jars of wine. That's too much work. It's not my job." What would have happened if they said, "No way am I taking a jug of water to the man in charge of the feast. He'll think I'm an idiot," or whatever. The servants were required to do their part in that whole situation. And I think that's what we need to be aware of, and we need to be doing too, that we are working with God in breaking into situations. Now you might think this is a bit trivial, but actually, the more I thought about it, the more I think it is a good example to share. Yesterday was my uncle's funeral in Hampshire. Not a particularly sad event. He was very nearly 99 and had lived a very full life. But it was in Hampshire, and to be quite honest with you, on Friday afternoon, the last thing I wanted to do was to drive to Hampshire. We needed to go the night before because we were due early at the crematorium on Saturday morning. Anyway, off we set, Bob and I. And when we got to my cousin's house, where we were staying for the night, she, of course, had been very busy with all the arrangements, arranging the service, arranging the afternoon tea, and, who was where and who was going in the limo, and, all those things that needed to be organised. And everything was pretty well in hand, but she was completely overwhelmed by this mound of photographs of the last 99 years that were sitting there in this pile saying, "Go on then, make me into a display that is honouring to your father." She just had lost it, really. Well, if you don't know, I am an ex-primary school teacher, and of course, this is, right up my street, wasn't it? So there we are, 3 or 4 hours later, there's the display. And I'm not saying saying that to show off that I could do it, but God, I think, used me to break into that situation which was overwhelming her and create something which was glorifying to that man's life. And I think glorifying to God, because I was willing. It would have been very easy to say, oh, just can't be bothered, we just go down Saturday morning, and it just wouldn't have happened. So make of that as you will, but that's what I think we need to be looking at in our lives. Instead of just saying, oh yeah, that was a bit of a coincidence, or that was lucky, wasn't it? Actually thinking, is that God using me or using somebody else? And are we using our talents to break into situations? That's our role as Christians. And as Christians, what is our collective noun? What is a collective noun for Christians? Could be a flock, could be a gang, a gathering, or even a church. Just look around. There is no visual aid for this. There's no photograph, but you just need to look around at each other. We are the collective noun. We are the church of Christians. And I think a church of Christians is rather like a box of chocolates. A delicious, tempting thing. It's even full. And in the box of chocolates, there are many different types. There are crunchy ones, creamy ones, nutty ones, smooth ones, chewy ones, just as there are many different sorts of people in a church. We won't go too far into that. But just safe to say that together we make a great mix of people, characters, personalities, talents, all mixed together. We make a wonderful, attractive thing. But unfortunately, sometimes the church is rather more like this box of savoury biscuits available in a supermarket near you. Now, unlike the sweets, which are celebrated for their difference, but all mixed up together, when you open the box of savoury crackers, each sort comes neatly wrapped in its own little section. So we've got all the same flavours together. They're not mixing with any of the others. So they're in the same box. They're all acknowledging their savoury biscuits, but they're wrapped up and they're separated by walls. The walls are even transparent so they can see each other, but they're not going to mix, thank you very much. Delightful in their own way. In this week of Christian unity, I would like to think that we don't see ourselves as separate from all the other Christians that we know are around, but actually we celebrate our differences, celebrate and respect the other Christians within our fellowship and in other fellowships here in Malvern, in our country, in the world, that do things and see things a bit differently to the way we do. So, whether we mix together in big groups, maybe out of doors, whether we're arm wavers, or whether we like it a bit more peaceful and quiet, maybe this is more the place where we can find God. Whether we baptise children as infants, or we baptise people as adults, we are all part of Jesus' family, and we should be more united by what we have in common than divided by our differences. There are very encouraging examples, just in our town, without looking any further, of Christians working together. We heard from Roger and Trish the other week about working as street pastors with different Christians. We look at the Littleton Well, where there are people working from all the different churches in Malvern. Open the Book goes into schools, Christians from different churches. Life Path, that is held annually at the Priory. 100 volunteers from across the churches of the town. Likewise, Seeds for Life up at the United Reformed Church. The Octagon is not just people from St Andrews or All Saints. And if you're involved with any other charities of different sorts, you will find there many volunteers, a lot of them Christians, from different churches working together. So that's just a little look at our local community. If you want to look further at the global picture and celebrate Christian unity across the world, then you need to be here at 4 o'clock this afternoon, when it is the United Service for Christian Unity in Malvern today. My final point is, we have to decide as Christians whether we want to be in Quality Street or Crackers. Nothing's too big for God and his power. So that's what we're going to sing next, I hope. No, it's not you. I'm hoping it's going to be a video. Oh, sorry. Have I skipped a song?